As soon as I told her, she fell to the ground and obviously was very emotional, lost it. And I quickly went over to her, but as she composed herself and started to just, regroup, she put both her hands on my shoulder, looked me in the eye, and said, "It's not your fault." Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So talk about the actions we take, right?
Yeah.
In the face of intense tragedy. That's amazing.
I don't know. The first thing that I needed to say to him was, "It's not your fault." And then that's what I said. And yeah, I don't know if I just knew that was the right thing to say. Whether or not I believed it, I think I did believe it because I said it. But like, it doesn't even matter if I believed it because that's what he needed to hear. Like what I guess, like looking back, like what good would it have done to be mad at him? Like we were going through this together.
Yeah.
It was something we were gonna have to navigate to get. Like if I didn't have him to lean on, like who? If I get mad at him, like then I'm alone.
Yeah.
In navigating it.
Welcome back to the 1090 podcast. I'm here with Nick and Susie Shaw. We're going to interview Nick first, and then we'll save the best for last.
Always.
We'll do Susan. I'm just going to get right into the obituary of your son, and then we'll go from there. I love the name. William Wolfgang Shaw. That's a powerful name. Okay. William Wolfgang Shaw, age 9, of Carlisle, Massachusetts, died tragically in a ski accident in Montana on February 19th, 2019, leaving a huge hole in the hearts of his family, friends, and community. William was born in San Francisco on December 20th, 2009, to his adoring parents, Nicholas and Susan Shaw. When he was 2 years old, his family relocated to Massachusetts, where shortly after his brother Kai Shaw joined the family. At the time of his death, William was in the 3rd grade at the Carlisle Public Elementary School. William was a sweet, gentle soul who loved giving hugs, laughing, and making jokes, and had a quiet confidence about him. Some of his favorite activities were cooking and listening to country music with his mom and getting barbecue at Red Bones with his dad. He was also a huge Hamilton fan.
Mm-hmm.
My nephew Ryder loved Hamilton as well. Knew every song and could hold his own in any rap battle. William loved books, music, playing guitar, and being outdoors. He had his own sense of style and was known for his beautiful golden curls. When he put his mind to something, he was determined to accomplish it. He considered himself an extreme sports guy, reveling in activities like mountain biking, skateboarding, rock climbing, parkour, and skiing, and often created his own obstacle courses as a challenge for him and his younger brother, Kai. All this in the 3rd grade.
Yeah, he was an old soul.
In his short life, William was able to see many parts of the world: the Swiss Alps, Italy, the Dominican Republic, and Mexico. He enjoyed visiting family in New York City and savored his time at the playground of Central Park. He also relished his summer months at Little Island Beach on Cape Cod, where his favorite activities were burying himself in the sand and 4th of July festivities. But at the end of the day, he didn't care where he was, as long as he was with his family. Math was William's favorite subject. He proudly received 100% on his most recent test, and he had designs on becoming a mechanical engineer. Not only was he a good student, but in school he was also considered a role model. When a new student was placed in his class mid-year, teachers would put them next to William because he was warm, sharing, and a friend to all. Above all else, he was a loving boy, and he was loved. He brought his family endless amounts of joy. In addition to his parents and brother, William is survived by his maternal grandparents, Leo and Therese Furphy.
Furphy, yeah.
Sorry, I knew the minute it came out it was wrong. countless number of friends and family, and all of them, along with everyone who knew and loved him, will carry him in their hearts and minds for the rest of their lives. Celebration of life will be held at the First Religious Society in Carlisle. Okay, should be a brutal but good episode today. Life's 10% what happens to you and 90% what you're going to do about it. Welcome back to the 1090 podcast, where life's 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. And you know, like I have trauma brain, and you know, I'm struggling. And I just wasn't prepared for you guys. We only brought 2 mics, and there's 3 of us, and so I feel bad, but we're splitting you up. We're gonna interview Nick first, and then Susan. So how do you guys want to do this? Where do you want to start with the story? Do you want to start day of, or do you want to start? How do you guys want to do it?
Yeah, I mean, we could start with day of, just set the context, and
let's dive right into it.
You know, the reason why we're all here, right?
Yeah, I thought the Obituary did a good job of, man, really beautiful written, and feel like I have a good idea of who he was a little bit, obviously, but
yeah, look, he was a amazing little boy. I mean, and you know, that's as much as you can describe, obviously, in words. But you know, he really was just the kindest, most loving, caring little boy you could imagine. And so, you know, when he died, it was a loss for the world because we need more of those people in the world.
Yeah, I agree. And that's like losing my daughter Frankie. She was 2, and I get a lot of that anger. I think it's just because she was so young, but I feel like the world didn't know her. Like,
yeah,
I promised she existed, and she was so sweet, and she was gonna do, like, I don't even know, but it's gonna be so great, and just to be robbed of that.
No, it shouldn't happen, but it does.
Yeah,
it sucks. Yeah.
So you guys are skiing in Montana, and losing a loved one, losing a child is just awful regardless, but out of state, because you guys weren't living in Montana.
No,
right?
no, we were on vacation.
I feel like it just adds to the nightmare of the dream feeling of what is going on. Like, we're on vacation now, like, but maybe you can take us to that day and how it unfolded.
Yeah, I mean, it's the, and you kind of use the word dream state. I mean, it started as a dream. I mean, it was a perfect
more like a
day.
nightmare, but like, yeah, this isn't real.
Yeah, but it started out as a beautiful dream, right? We were getting ready to have a great day on the mountain, and we did. And then ultimately ended in our worst nightmare. But yeah, I'll kind of walk you through what happened. So, I grew up skiing my whole life. It's sort of it's my passion sport. I don't know if you guys like it from Utah. I imagine you do.
We like snowboarding.
Yeah, all right. That's
tomato.
We'll allow it. We can still hang. But you know, so it was something I dreamed of doing with my boys. You know, because that's what I did with my dad and my brother, and so now I had my
tradition.
It's, yeah. And William loved it. That was something that, you know, I don't know if it's because he saw me doing, he saw how much I loved it, but that was our thing. We connected on it. He was on the ski team. He was a good skier. Like, he raced. He was. And so we started out the day. They were going to do ski school for half a day. Then William and I were going to meet up at lunch and ski to the top of the mountain. You know, the double black diamonds, where he's really going to just do his thing.
Yeah, those are like, you got to be good.
You got to be good. Yeah. You got to be good. And so started out the plan. We went to the top of the mountain. I had a GoPro on me, so I was filming everything. And he rocked it. He had the run of his life. Like, I mean, you know, just on a double black diamond, 9 years old, just, you know, letting the mountain and his body flow together and was just crushing it. And, you know, he was on, you know, it was his dream, right? He was top of his game. And so we were skiing with some family friends, and the plan was that we would ski with them for a little bit top of the mountain, and we were going to meet up with my wife, Susie, and our younger son, Kai, at you know, towards the back half of the day to ski as a family, because Kai was 6 at the time and couldn't do the top of the mountain. So we were skiing, lights out. William was having a great time, beautiful day. And then it was time for us to go to the bottom of the mountain, meet up with Susie and Kai. And so we made our way to the bottom of the mountain, and we were on a catwalk. And so I'm sure you guys know what a catwalk is, because you have to push a lot. There's no borders on catwalks. But,
hey, man.
But sorry, a little dig there. But But for those of you listening who don't know, it's essentially like a road. It's a road that sort of winds its way to the bottom. It's not super steep. It's just kind of an easier way to the bottom. And so we were making our way down this catwalk to go meet up with Susie and Kai. And I was a little bit in front of him because I was heavier. And again, on catwalks, you don't really think about risk, right? It's just a road. And there was a bend in the catwalk, and I literally was on my phone talking to Susie, saying, "Hey, we're gonna be down in 5 minutes. Like I can see the bottom of the mountain." And just as I made the bend in the road, a skier came whizzing past me and said, "Hey, was that your kid who went into the woods?" And I was like, "Oh, crap." I mean, I figured he caught an edge and is stuck in the powder snow off the side of the hill. So I stopped, took my skis off, and I was fully expecting to find him sort of, stuck, right? And off the side of this, there was an embankment off the side of this
Is that
catwalk.
all the guy said to you? Sorry. All
Yeah,
the guy said was
he kept going. That your kid who went in the woods?
He didn't tell you, like, that's all he said.
No, he just kept going. And again, I thought, okay, yeah,
That's what I would have thought. Like, oh, okay.
yeah, and I got to go dig him out, right?
Right.
So I took my skis off, and off the side of this slope was pretty steep and heavy powder and trees, a lot of trees. So I start making my way up the mountain, like thinking I'm going to see him right off the side of the slope. I keep walking. Like he's nowhere to be found. Like I can't see him anywhere. I yell his name, nothing. I look for tracks in the snow, nothing. I eventually go back to where I left my skis and try to go into the forest, but I'm like, chest deep in powder snow. So I claw my way out by pulling up on trees, and then a ski mountain attendant sees me. He's like, "What are you doing? Get out of there. It's dangerous." I said, "Well, my kid's in here somewhere. I lost him." And then eventually, ski patrol was alerted and the search ensued. I ended up skiing to the bottom to go meet up with another ski patrol to see if he had somehow skied there and we could find him at the bottom. And then eventually he was found. And then they brought me to the ski patrol clinic where I was awaiting his arrival for treatment. And then they eventually brought him in. And after, I don't know, time is a bit murky, but call it 10, 15 minutes of treatment, doctor came out and delivered the horrible news that he had died. And, life as I knew it was over.
At what point, was there ever a point before you were told that he had died that you were like, what was your thoughts, like waiting for him?
Yeah, so there was a couple points where I started to get pretty nervous and panicky. First off, it was getting darker, and it was getting colder, and I was thinking, well, if he's lost in the woods, last thing you want is him to be having to spend the night there, or tree wells, right, stuck in a tree well. And the second time was I was with the ski patrol, and I heard over her walkie-talkie, he was found but unresponsive, and in that moment, I remember I was just outside the lodge, and I literally just dropped to my knees because I was like, shit. Then I knew it was bad, and then I just kind of went into a bit of a numbed state of shock until and then the doctor came out and told me, and I was still numbed because you can't make sense of it, right?
You were just skiing with him.
I was just skiing with him. You can't make sense of any of it, and so I was still like, "What the fuck?" Right? I mean, that's what your whole framing of everything is. It's turned upside down, and the first time I had an emotional reaction, I was just processing, and my brain was about to like explode, and I realized I was gonna have to tell Kai. And I remember I was in the hospital or the clinic waiting room, and I was like, what the fuck am I going to tell Kai? Like, how do I tell a 6-year-old that his brother's dead? And that was the first time I kind of lost it. And then I waited for Susie to come, and then I started getting really nervous. Like, what do I tell her? What's her reaction going to be? I mean, he was with me, right? So I'm at this point bearing the responsibility of this thing. And eventually Susie got to the clinic, because it wasn't even a hospital, it was like a ski patrol clinic. She comes into the waiting room where I am, and we're about, call it 10 feet-ish apart, and I tell her, I'm like, he's dead. And I think this is one of the most amazing parts of the story, and I think very relevant to title of your podcast, because as soon as I told her, she fell to the ground and obviously was very emotional, lost it. And I quickly went over to her, but as she composed herself and started to just, regroup, she put both her hands on my shoulder, looked me in the eye, and said, "It's not your fault." Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So talk about the actions we take, right?
Yeah.
In the face of intense tragedy. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I write about that in my book.
Like because when you just get news that your kid dies,
Yeah.
most people are just
Yeah. Like,
yeah,
what the
to have like for Susie to have the state of mind and to be able to think sorry, to be able to think about someone else
Exactly.
in that situation is just really impressive. Like, and probably the thing you needed to hear quickly and soon from the person that loves you more than anyone. Like, wow, what a moment.
Yeah, it's an amazing moment, and it's an amazing act of love, kindness, and humanity.
Yeah.
And
It took me, sorry, but it took me months, maybe a year to have compassion for other people. Like, I was so just
angry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and it is a thing that allowed us. I think it set the tone for us to endure.
And it's so weird because it's not your fault. Like, it's not your fault at all. So
No.
so like it's why is it such a big deal that she said the obvious thing and like but it is like because usually that's not how it goes down. That's just sorry, I didn't that was a powerful thing to have said, I think.
It is again, it is it's an amazing act of like I said, love, kindness, and humanity.
Man, I think people need to be told that a lot. Like hands on the shoulders and the eyes.
Yeah.
Not your fault.
Yeah. And it's going to, whatever, just to be there with them and help them through the pain. And she was selfless in that moment, right? This is a mother who just lost her son, and she did that.
Yeah.
And so that set us on the tone. I think, like I said, set us on a path to be in it together, because it was just the beginning of the journey at that point.
So even though Susie said that to you, do you still struggle with guilt, or what's that like for you today? Or
yeah, today I don't have guilt around it. I think the question that was in my mind in sort of the direct aftermath of the accident, and and a couple weeks later, was like, could I have done more? Could I have gotten to him? And if I'd gotten to him, like, would he be alive? You hear these stories of parents like lifting up cars and stuff,
Yeah.
right? It's superhuman, and I couldn't get through that goddamn powder snow. So I was like, what the hell's wrong with me, right? I was like, did I fail my son because I couldn't be a superhero for him when it mattered the most? That was the thing I felt real guilty about, or the most guilt about. And it wasn't until two weeks later, or whatever the time frame was, where we got the coroner's report, and he died effectively instantaneously. He died from blunt force trauma to the head and chest, I believe, and so he died pretty much instantly, which was a small amount of relief for me, because I was like, okay, even if I could have gotten to him, it wouldn't have mattered.
no, I mean that's a wish I have with my family, is I hope they just went quickly, and so I feel terrible saying it, but I think there is a little I don't even know what word to use, but it's kind of the good part about it, I guess, is like at least he went quickly.
Yeah, he didn't suffer.
Yeah.
He didn't suffer.
And it sucks. I mean, not being home as a child just has to be so chaotic and messy. But I don't know, like dying doing one of the things you love with the people you love.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my dad said that. Look, I mean,
I don't know if you want to punch me in the face right now.
No.
Like, I
mean, look.
understand it, but like, I feel like one of those people who say things to us that we just hate. But like, I don't know, like.
Well, there's worse ways to go out, right?
Yeah, I do think like we're all gonna die. Like that's 100% sure. And I think the one thing we do because of that is try to live a life and that's, man, like you read his obituary, he was doing so much. Like
Yeah.
he lived, man. He lived a good life.
Yeah, and I remember I was sitting. I don't know how I got myself to watch. It was at his after the funeral. We had a big reception at the school, and they were showing a video of like a reel of family clips. I remember again. I don't know how I actually sat there and watched it that early after, but I did remember having that thought. I was like, he had a pretty full life
He
at
lived,
9 years old. Like, if
yeah.
you look at those pictures, and was it too short? Absolutely, but it was a full life. Yeah, and he came here to do what he needed to do, and then he left. I mean, that's one way that I've sort of figured out how to wrap my head around this thing.
Your book that you wrote,
Hmm.
I was just flipping through it. I'm gonna butcher it, but you said something in there just as I was skimming. Like a lot of people use their emotions to feel stuff. I like to think things through,
Hmm.
type of thing. Can you just talk about your book, like the therapeutic process of it, or just how gut-wrenching awful was it to write it, or
Yeah, yeah.
and how soon after did you start writing it?
I think I started writing the book. What was it? It was
Because William passed away 2009.
2019. 2019. Yeah. The book started out as the series of poems, which kind of came to me as I was processing my grief, and I was pretty good about. I meditated, I journaled, so the poems just came out of that process. But then I read the poems, and I was like, these are pretty good, but it's not enough. There was like whatever 13, maybe 15 poems. I was like, if I want to share this with the world, it's got to be more. So I set out to write the book. It was January of 22, and then I finished the first draft in June.
Dang.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I'm not a writer, man. So
Yeah,
like
like
it just kind of poured out of me somehow. I talk about in the book. I hated writing as a kid. Even today, like
no.
having to write a long email is like sucks the energy out of me. But this thing just flowed out of me.
You just do it on your computer or phone, or how you?
I did it on my computer. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
pretty. I was pretty. I guess I'm a relatively disciplined guy, so I was like, I'm gonna work on one chapter a week, and just every morning I get up from 7 to like whatever 9 maybe, and just work 2 hours, and then that done, and then just pick up the next day, and that worked for me to get through. To get through the book.
Yeah, you think writing for you is probably similar to what podcasting does for me. You think just this outlet
Yeah.
for these thoughts and pain and emotions to go. I mean, write it, man. I tried to write a couple times. I just cry, man. I don't. It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It for me it was so before this, like I think the line you were referencing, I'm very much a thinker. I like to think things through and
Yeah, I really
conceptualize,
like
and
it.
but to write this book, I had to like actually really feel, which didn't come naturally to me, as a male
Yeah, we don't like
in our
that.
society. So really, that's what allowed this finally tapping into my heart as a way of connecting with everything. That was the sort of pressure release, or the valve that allowed all this stuff to come out in this book.
So how do you explain? Um, it's pretty much unexplainable, so it's a stupid question. But losing a child, like, how do you explain that to someone?
Well, yeah, and I've thought a lot about this, and I do talk about it in there. Well, first of all, I think one of the maybe more direct and ways that you might explain is that control is an illusion, right? And we think we have control, but there are many things that happen in our life that are
And
beyond our
we see
control.
another third grader walk by, and then all of a sudden you're in a different. Yeah, like
Yeah,
how much control do you really have?
yeah. So, we did everything we could to protect our kids,
Mm.
right? He was wearing a ski helmet, right? He knew how to ski. He was on a ski. So everything he did, he died on a freaking catwalk. Like, I replayed that moment thousands and thousands of times, and there's not a single thing I would have done different, and
Yeah.
it still happened, right? So number one, I think all we can do is do the best we can as parents. But at the end of the day, there will always be things that are out of our control, and And I think part of the grief process for me anyway was at some point you have to accept that this happened, right? That this happened, and you have to figure out how to um, move forward in as best a way as possible to honor him, because that was important for me and for Susie. We had to honor his life, and how we acted was going to be either honoring or dishonoring that. And then we also had to tend to our relationship and to our younger son Kai, and eventually our son Bodie, who joined us a year and a half later.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that, like having another kid after losing a kid. But I want to ask first, what do you think? What do you think people mistake about grief, or maybe someone from the outside looking in, like, what are some misconceptions that people get wrong? Maybe.
Well, I think it's a lot. That's a lot. I think people think that grief is it's a nice, neat process, right? Step one, denial. Step two, anger.
He passed away 5 years ago.
You're not good. You haven't
still struggling with
Yeah.
that?
So it's like, and so that.
You haven't accepted it yet?
Yeah. Yeah. What the hell? Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's one. It's like people think that it's like it starts and it ends.
Yeah, like there's this linear process that just well said.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist for me at all.
No, I think grief is unique to each and every one of us. And when you talk to Susie in a little bit, you'll see that we grieved very differently, and that's okay. But that we each had to do it in our own way. I think the other fallacy or myth is that grief ends. Like, we will never stop grieving our loss, right?
It's a life sentence.
It's it's something we will always carry with us. And so there's not like get over it. Like, no, we will never get over it. It will always be with us. Our lives will always be slightly less because, in my case, well, my child, and in your case, your daughter,
and son, and wife,
and wife,
brother, and
yeah.
everything, but yeah.
So our lives will never be as complete as a result, and that's just something we have to learn to live with.
How's like losing a child? You just want to die and like you're just done, and then you guys have a kid to raise, Kai, and then you have. Did you guys mean to get pregnant?
We did.
What's wrong with you guys?
Well, so the funny thing about it is, like, both my siblings asked me, it's like, so you guys gonna have another kid? And I was like, fuck no, we're not having another kid. That's the last thing I want to do is go back to that stage of life, diapers, not sleeping, terrible twos, terrible threes.
Again.
Yeah, like I was like, we had gotten through that. So William was 9, Kai was 6. We were finally able to do shit as a family. Like, going back to having a baby means we're going backwards now. That's in my simple mind. That's how I reckoned it. And then eventually I realized, after a conversation with my therapist, I realized I need to stop being so self-centered and think about my family around this question, about the fact that it would be very nice for our son Kai to have a sibling in his life. And it would be nice for Susie, who at the time was a stay-at-home mom, and so half of her work was gone, if you want to frame it that way, right? Like, she was mothering 2 kids, now one of them was dead. It'd be nice to make her feel whole, right? And in her very important role as a mother to these boys. So finally, I kind of was able to look past myself, say what's right for the family, and then we had a great conversation about it. And we tried. And how old was I? I was 44 when we started trying, and I was 45 and she was 42. So not obvious, right? And amazingly, like, we just did one cycle of trying the old-fashioned way.
Wow, that's wow.
Yeah, and yeah, we were able to bring our third son Bodie into the world, which was amazing. And it was hard as shit for me, to be perfectly honest. He and I did not vibe initially for the first couple years, but yeah.
You guys were old, man.
Yeah, no shit.
I didn't know how else to say it, but wow, that's
it's not an obvious thing, right? So
I wanted to ask you, you have a kid after losing a kid, and then, like, what's your mindset? Like, are you guys going skiing still? Are you guys living life? I mean, you just lost a kid to living life. Like, how do you guys handle that?
Yeah. So it took us a while, right? Obviously, your initial instincts are to try to, like, you go into a cocoon, you try to be super super guarded and protective of initially just Kai, and then eventually Bodie came. Now, just to set the context, Bodie was born in the middle of the pandemic, so that was a bit stressful as it is. And so where everyone was forced to cocoon, but eventually you start to realize like, and we came up. I had this mantra: "What would Willie want?"
Oh yeah.
Like, what would Willie want? WWW. Like, what would Willie want? He would want us to live our life.
Yeah, for sure.
He would not want us to sort of just be these, mere sort of just not fully embracing this life we have that he no longer has. So that was important for us. And talking about skiing, we actually just went back to Big Sky this February to go skiing.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it was an amazing thing, and we're gonna do it next year.
I think, make a tradition of it. Don't run from that thing. Head right into it. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, what's your opinion on death after losing a child? I'm not even sure what I mean by that, but like your day-to-day life, like how do you view it? And then what's your relationship with him now? Like, do you communicate with him day to day, or?
Yeah, it's a good. So I think definitely after William died, you kind of look at yourself and say, well, like this is not forever, right?
Yeah.
Life is not something to take for granted. So, how can I live my life, and how can we live our lives in the best possible way and embrace it fully? So, which means for me, in any case, confronting some of the baggage and shit I've been carrying around for most of my life, and really saying, is this how I want to keep living, or do I want to actually, be real and confront whatever I need to confront and live as positively as I can? So that for me is a philosophy I think I embraced after William died. As far as connecting with William, I try to connect with him. I meditate. I will connect with him sometimes when I meditate, try to talk to him. I've done some spiritual journeys where I've been able to connect with him. So yeah.
Your youngest son that you had, what's his name again?
Bodie.
Bodie. How old is he now?
He's 4.
What's the communication like to Bodie about William?
Since the earliest days of his existence, Bodie has been aware that there is this presence in his life called William, his oldest brother.
Yeah.
So he's all he has had a picture in his room.
That's great.
When he was really small, every morning we would wake up, we would take him over and kiss the picture. So he talks about William all the time. We talk about William all the time. It's interesting because this is a kid who was born into a family where death was just there, right?
Yeah.
Right? So death, most kids don't understand death till much later, but this kid was born into a family where the conversation about death was always present. So, he knows William to the extent that he can, based on our stories. We talk about William all the time. We do a lot of traditions. So William loved tacos. So on
Taco Tuesdays.
we do actually. Well, if it falls on Tuesday, but every the 19th of every month, because he died on the 19th, we always have tacos.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Do you guys go out, or you make them at home?
No, we make them home.
Yeah,
we're big into making
Probably
tacos.
a good idea, so you're not crying out of the restaurant.
Yeah. And if we do, so be it, right? But we definitely we're pretty avid followers of Dia de los Muertos on November 1st, the Mexican way of honoring the dead. And then on his birthday, we always have a cake, and I buy him a birthday present. So we talk about him, we keep him as present as we possibly can, so that Bodie can, for us and for Bodie.
What do you like about yourself now after losing a child, like going through grief? What are some characteristics that maybe you didn't have before?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think I like my resilience.
You probably didn't even know you had it.
No. I mean, who does, right? Until you get put into
like, hey, you're gonna lose your kid, and then you're gonna write a book about it.
Yeah, and you're gonna
be like,
you can have another kid, and you'll be So resilience, I think, it's the you're thrown into the cauldron, right? And you're able to come out. So that to me I'm pretty amazed at my capacity and my family's capacity to be able to do that. Like, I'm super proud of where we are today as a family. Like I said to Susie when we went back to Big Sky, we were standing in the airport, waiting for our bags in Bozeman. You have all these families, there, and I was like, yeah, there's not a lot of people who would do what we're doing right now, right? Who would be fucking back at the place where our son died doing the thing he did when he died. Like, that's wild. And to put our other two kids on the mountain as well, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
I love that so much, by
yeah,
the way. Like,
yeah.
I think that's the best mindset to have.
And we have to role model that for our kids,
Yeah.
right? Because what does that tell to Bodie and Kai, right? If we just say, no, we're going to put you in bubble wrap and you can't do shit because we don't want you to die. Well, what does that tell them, right? So we have to, and that's another thing I think, you asked me what I'm proud about. I think one of the things I realized, and that's why I call the book My Teacher, My Son, is like our kids teach us so much so that then we can go and then teach them. It's like this positive loop of learning that we have between our kids. And yeah, to be able to teach them and role model for them a way to be that will allow them to be productive people in the world. I'm proud of having realized that through this tragedy.
Yeah.
And then doing everything I do for them, right?
If someone like picked up your book but only had maybe 5-10 minutes to read it, what are you telling them? Like, what's your favorite part? Like, what are you telling them to read about your book?
Like what chapter?
Yeah,
Or
like what's your...
that's a tough one. There's a lot of good chapters.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wish I would have read it before.
no worries, no worries. I think to lay the arc of the book, the first couple chapters are tough because I bring you back to like day of, and I try to like get the reader to connect with like how freaking miserable and awful and painful that day was. So, and I've had a lot of people say, "Look, I start reading your book and I had to put it down because it was too much." And I've had other people say, "I read your book in one sitting; it was amazing." So, get through the first couple chapters, and then it's a hopeful book, right? It's not just a book about. I wrote the book to help not just people who lost a child or a family member, but also people face all kinds of challenges. And what I love about the title of your podcast, it's like what we choose to do with what life throws us. That's what's most important.
Mm-hmm.
I quote Viktor Frankl in the book, right?
Good.
I mean,
Yeah,
he's the
good.
ultimate epitome of that, right? The last freedom we have, or the freedom that no one can take away, is our ability to choose how we respond to a situation, right? And that's
all you got, man.
That's it. That's
It's
at the
so
end of the day. That's
powerful.
all you got, man.
Yeah.
And so, so that, and in that is hope, right?
Yeah.
So I think it is as much a book about loss as it is about hope.
I love that. Can I read this poem
Sure.
called 4 Words?
Please.
We talked about it at the beginning, but I think it's pretty cool. 4 words. How could I look her in the eye? He was with me when it happened. 1 minute he was there, and the next he wasn't. How could I look her in the eye? Would this be the destruction of 3 more lives? Would we become just another statistic? How could I look her in the eye? What would she think of me? He who lost this most precious gift. When I finally looked her in the eye, she said 4 words that have allowed us to endure. It's not your fault. Yeah, that's beautifully awful. I don't even know how to... Yeah, that was great, man.
Yeah.
When you lose someone, especially when you lose a child, all you can think is, if I only had more time. The paradox of time. See, so time, like, so he passed away 2019, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is he still 9-year-old kid?
It's a tough one, man. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one. Yeah.
Because sometimes, sorry if I can jump in real
Yeah,
quick.
please. Yeah.
But sometimes when I'm communicating to Frankie, who was 2, my daughter, or Riggins, who was a week away from turning 6, sometimes, like, I'll have these conversations with them when they're much, like, they couldn't be having these conversations when they're kids.
Yeah.
But when I picture them, they're definitely a 2-year-old, and their faces, and their little giggles, and their voices are the same, but some instances I'm talking to him in an adult way that
Yeah.
wouldn't really make sense. But I just want to, it's a question I like to ask people, like
Yeah.
where they stand on that.
So I think the way it's probably similar for me. Like obviously my only visual memories of William is as a 9-year-old, right?
Yeah.
So when I visualize or talk to him, that's the image. But you're right. The words, the conversations are, they're as if I'm talking to someone who is way wiser than a 9-year-old,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Good way to put it.
So
And they like give you good advice.
absolutely,
So it's weird.
absolutely.
Is that me, or is it like what is going on?
Yeah, no, you
Like,
just got to trust it, man. That's one of the things you have to trust that, because I think you can. Well, is that just me talking about saying? Am I just?
yeah, am I just gaslighting myself
yeah.
to make this what I want it to be,
Yeah.
or like I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think you choose to believe what I believe that when I'm doing that, I'm talking to William, and he's talking to me, and he's out there in the universe, and he's sharing what he can with me based on the universal wisdom that he now has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a question I was gonna ask you, and then I forgot it. It was gonna be good. Are we? We need to start wrapping up. Before we get to your top 3 favorite movies,
Oh shit.
that's how we end. Oh, I knew what I was gonna ask you.
Yeah.
What are some talking to parents who are about to lose a kid or maybe have lost a kid or whatever? What are some or people comforting those people? What are some things not to do, not to say? What are some things you like that you found helpful or comforting from the community that supported you?
Yeah, it's a great question, and so a couple things. I remember one friend of mine. He called me on the phone, and the first thing he said was, "Hey, how you doing?" He didn't say that. He said, "It's good to hear your voice."
Mm.
Right. So I think that question of "Hey, how you doing?" right, which is a standard throwaway question we all do, but asking someone who's grieving, particularly like in the immediate aftermath of a loss, is like you're putting them on the spot to have to like.
Okay.
Oh yeah, like what are you supposed to say to that, right?
Yeah.
It's like I'm fucking terrible. I just lost my kid. Like, so be thoughtful in creating the right space for them to do whatever for the grieving person to sort of do whatever they need to do in that moment. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, literally just on Friday. He lost his wife 14 years ago. Now he's remarried, had kids with her, but lost his wife tragically to cancer. And he's Jewish, and he was telling me about the Jewish tradition of after.
Which is very cool, I think.
Yeah, I'm
intense.
I'm Jewish, but I don't practice. I was actually like, I felt like
you have to like mourn in front of like 12 people. Like, it's like a.
Yeah, but what's interesting is the people who come visit you, they're not allowed to speak until the mourner speaks, and they have to speak based on whatever the mourner wants to speak about. I mean, think of how brilliant that is, right?
Yeah.
It's like if the mourner wants to talk about
It's
the
so
fucking
good.
baseball, like that's what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
I was like, that is the most brilliant thing ever, right? It takes all the pressure off. You let them tell you what they need, and I think that's for anybody who's trying to support a grieving family. Let them guide you. Don't try to come up with the perfect word. Just be there, create space, and they will let you know what they need.
Yeah, don't try to take the pain away. Just let them feel it and talk about it.
Exactly.
But I had Colin Campbell on, who's he's atheist, but like traditionally Jewish, and I think his wife might be Jewish, and so they grieved in the Jewish community, and it was so beautiful. Like the things he was explaining, like this is genius.
It is genius. Again, I'm Jewish by tradition, but
there's other little rules they had, like you were explaining that I'm forgetting, but it was so good.
It's very thoughtful and intentional to be best in service of the mourners, right? Which is great.
And like the timing of it, like they are like.
They're
on it. Yeah. Which I think is important. I think that the comment that Susie made to you, I think that was why it was so impactful too, was the timing of it. Is just, I mean, I think most people get told that months later, maybe a year later, sitting in therapy, like you need to tell him that. And for her to like.
Yeah. No, it is. And actually, in that chapter with the poem you read, that's where I quote Viktor Frankl, because it is that whole chapter is about the power of art, what we choose to do in those moments, right? The 90-10, right?
Yeah, man.
So
speaking my language. Okay.
Favorite movies that we're doing?
We have brutal episodes, so we try to end on a happy note. And my family loved movies, and we always did lists of movies. So your top 3, desert island style. So you can get 3 movies the rest of your life.
Oh Jesus, 3 movies.
But if you pick like Pirates of the Caribbean, you get all those movies. So like
oh,
there's just so you know.
so I can pick like a
Like if you pick Fast
franchise.
and the Furious, you get 12 movies.
Okay. Well, I mean that's easy because so one would be easily Star Wars.
Oh,
I'm a big Star Wars guy and love watching that.
What's
with
your
my kids.
favorite movie of
Star Wars? My son just asked me this yesterday. Literally, Kai asked me that. I would say the A New Hope, right? The first Star Wars, right? 1977. That is my favorite.
Yeah, you're a bit older than me. I like the third one the best, but
that's what he liked. Kai liked the third one. Yeah. So New Hope, Star Wars, or anything in the Star Wars.
It's so cool. I'm not a Star Wars guy. I don't know a whole lot, but like the year it was filmed and what they were able to do is looking at how movies are made now. It's crazy cool. Like I think I'm liking it more just because of how hard it was for them to make it.
It was definitely, definitely ahead of its time.
Okay, Star Wars.
The
Good
Star
first
Wars.
pick.
Okay. What's another? So I had 2 more, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That I would only be able to watch like on loop.
So you might want a comedy in there. Maybe you're a horror guy. I don't even
No,
know.
not a horror guy. That's so hard. So I'll just say what's coming into my mind. So Spies Like Us,
I've never seen that.
Chevy Chase. Yeah. This is like in the 80s. It's a very funny movie. That I might watch that one over and over and over again. And then I'll just show another one that's coming up for me is Usual Suspects.
Oh man, yeah, Kevin Spacey. That's a classic one.
Yeah.
You know who Key and Peele are?
Yeah.
You ever see him make fun of that movie?
No, but
oh my gosh,
I love.
There's like
stuff.
cat posters behind him. There's like his name.
Wait, no, I have seen that. Yeah.
Now.
Actually, I have seen that. Yes.
Cracking me up pretty.
Yeah, he does a scene where he's in the.
He's like, you're just looking at things in the room and naming them.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, but that's a great movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for a copy of your book. Thanks for coming on, and we're gonna chat to Susie, right?
Yeah.
Right next.
So we're gonna transition. Yeah.
Yeah. You're fired, man. Get out.
I'm out of here.
Actually, let me give you a hug.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
That was great, man. A good feeling.
It was.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just wanted that, and then, are we filming?
Maybe.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, William's sort of mantra post-death has become, with all of us, his friends, his family, his community, be yourself. When he was maybe 8 years old, he was in church one day. We go to a Unitarian church, and so you learn about all different types of religion. And they were having a class on Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, speaking about Jewish traditions and how awesome they are. So the woman in charge, this amazing teacher named Pam, had everybody write an intention for the year that they would practice all throughout the year.
Cool, yeah.
And everybody wrote it on a little note card. And William's mantra was, be yourself, at 8 years old.
Yeah.
And after he died, Pam gave me the card that he had written it on. I pinned it up on our bulletin board, and my sister-in-law saw it. I told her the story. She thought it was beautiful. And then everybody got these bracelets at the funeral that said "Be Yourself" on it, and it just kind of expanded outward, and that's what we ended up naming our nonprofit.
No way.
Trying to just encourage kids, families, adults to be themselves, even when it's hard, to share, to be vulnerable, and to show up as your authentic self, and that's the best way that we can all connect with each other.
For sure. And I think it's important for people in grief to hear, like, you can be sad.
Be yourself in your
cry.
grief. Absolutely.
You can be mad,
Or you can laugh and be silly
that's
and have
fine
fun.
too. Like,
One of the reasons we started the nonprofit was because we saw all of William's friends who were first 9 and then 10 and then 11 who were really struggling. Like my family, being the impacted family, was getting support. We had grief groups that we could go to. We had therapists that we were all seeing, me, Nick, my son Kai. There's no support groups for friends of dead kids. And they were struggling in school, they were struggling in their relationships with each other. And so a bunch of moms and I got together, and they threw, the first event was a parkour challenge. And
That's perfect.
yeah,
for
so
William.
we brought William's coach from his gym, and they sort of led the kids in this obstacle course
That's
challenge.
so cool.
It was so great. And the kids were having a great time and laughing and taking agency over their feelings by planning the event, while grieving their friend.
Agency over their feelings. Wow, yeah.
Right? Like
Well
they're
said.
taking control of
'Cause-
how they feel about it.
Because much of grief, like we were talking about, is you don't have a whole lot of control, at least at the beginning. Like, yeah.
And we saw them thriving in doing that, like having a wonderful time while missing their friend.
Yeah.
And coming together in that like supportive mission of supporting our family, remembering William, but again, creating some joy too.
I love it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
be
And
yourself.
I grew up in a very competitive basketball sports. Like, who's the best? And I'm the best. Who's going to win? We win. We're the champs. And like, it took me a while to learn, like, I just need to be myself. Like, there's no other Mason Sawyer, and it's not really a competition. It took me a while to learn that, but here William is at 8 years old.
He was ahead of his time.
Yeah.
And it took, it took for him dying for me to find a lot of that courage for myself, to be myself.
Yeah, you've been broken so much. It's kind of like, it's a good opportunity to finally be yourself.
Right. Like, what am I waiting for?
I don't really care what anyone thinks anymore.
No,
so.
I really don't. Like, I used to care a lot about what
I
people
didn't know
think
how
of
much
me.
I did until
I wanted everybody to like me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't care. You know,
like I don't have the energy to worry about what you're thinking about me.
No, like, this is who I am, take it or leave it. Like, if you love me, great. If you don't, that's fine too. Move along. Like, I really work to have that as sort of the baseline of where I am.
Real quick, I have this belief that my family helps me find people to interview on my podcast, like Beyond the Grave.
Yeah.
And I just have to share our story. So we're planning this trip to Boston, and I think we had 2 podcasts scheduled. And I wanted to get some more. I'm like, we're going to be out there. Like, let's get a couple more. And I was just struggling. I'm like, I don't know who we're going to get. And then you emailed me, and you said, I asked you, like, where are you from? I said, we do all our podcasts in person. Where are you from? And you're like, we're from Boston, Massachusetts. Sounds like it won't work out. Maybe if we come to Utah. And then I messaged back, like, I'm coming to Boston, like, in a week or 2 weeks. And I'm like, it just was like, no way you email me today. Because I've literally been like, who am I?
That's fantastic.
So I wanted to share that story.
I didn't know that. I like that. Yeah. I'm so grateful. Right?
Thanks for coming, and both of you. I want to get your perspective on the day of real quick, and just, I think what you told Nick was so powerful, and maybe I can ask you that before I forget. Like, what made you get in that mind? How'd that work?
I don't know. And it's a weird thing to like feel like I can take credit for it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to make it like that, but it's
But he says that to me, and it's like, oh, what do I say? Oh, thank you, like, you know. And he tells he tells the story, and people are like, I'm so impressed by that, and it's like it just came, you know. Like I also know my husband very well.
Yeah.
And we've been together for so long, and I can kind of assume or guess how he's feeling about certain things, just in general. And so the day that William died, and when I found out that William died, I just knew that he was going to be carrying that guilt because he was with William, because of the nature of how he moves through the world.
Maybe you felt a little guilty too, or I don't. Maybe you did it.
Not in that moment, but what I think I might have realized was that it could have just as easily been me and Kai.
Oh yeah, real yeah.
there was no reason that it was him and William over me and Kai that day. He didn't do anything that put William at risk, nor did I when I was with Kai. So we were both like, the chances of something happening could have been either one of us.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like when Nick called me, Kai and I were waiting at the bottom of the mountain to meet him and William. And he called and said, "Hey, we'll be down in 5 minutes. Can't wait to tell you all about it." And I was thrilled. I'm like, "Great."
Yeah.
Oh, because I knew how important it was for William to do this particular part of Lone Peak. He was so excited, and I was so proud that it had went so well.
Yeah.
And then it was still going to be 5 more minutes. And I was kind of like, at that point, I was kind of like, we'd been waiting a little bit. I was kind of annoyed. I was like, I want to ski with you. We've been waiting for you. You've been having the time of your life up at the top of the mountain. I've been stuck with Kai down here. You know, like, I'm ready. So, you know, I was feeling kind of a little irritated, I guess. So I was like, okay, Kai, like, they still have 5 more minutes. Let's just take one more run up. And on the way down, I hear my phone and it's ringing. I pull it out. I see it's Nick. I'm like, oh, he can wait. Because I thought he was calling to say, where are you? And I was like, he can wait. He made us wait. So I'm not going to pick up the phone. And then he called like 4 more times in this like 30-second run. And I finally picked up the phone. I'm like, what is it? He's like, have you seen William? I said, what do you mean? He was with you. Like, I'm with Kai. He was with you. And he's like, I don't know where he went. We can't find him. And then Kai and I reached the bottom, and all hell broke loose because there was this massive hunt for our son. Kai and I decided to go back to the cabin to see if William had found his way back there somehow.
Yeah.
Had gotten lost on the trail he was with Nick, but he knew how to get back to our cabin because it was like it was right on a ski trail. And on the way to there, I happened to run into the friends that we were with. I got off the chairlift and there they were. So the wife and the kids came with me back to the cabin, and the husband, he went off searching for William. He was the one who actually found William. Our friend from Carlisle, who's a firefighter and a paramedic, was the one who spotted him out of all the like ski patrol, everybody. And he pulled him up, and he was the first one to do CPR. He was dead by that point. So he lives with that. But anyways, I went back to the cabin with the kids and my friend Jessie, and we were just like waiting. You know, the kids were playing Who Would Win, that card game. I don't know if you know that one.
We call it war, I think.
Well, no, it's with these cards that have
okay.
animals on them, and you pit the animals. So it's called Who Would Win. And Jesse and I were just waiting, and Nick finally calls after, it could have been 20 minutes, it could have been 3 hours, I don't know. And he said, they found him, things aren't good. I dropped to the floor, and I cried into the carpet. And I think by this point, Nick actually did know he was dead, but didn't know how to tell me on the phone. But I knew something terrible had happened. And so we dropped the kids with Jesse's mom. We got down to the ski patrol clinic. And as we pulled up, I saw this man waiting outside. And as soon as I got out of the car, I saw him, and I ran away because I knew what he had to tell me. Like, his like body language was like, oh, my son's dead, and he's going to tell me. So I felt like, okay, if I just run away,
literally, like,
then I won't have to hear it. He won't be dead if I run. And Jessie tackled me in the parking lot, and she brought me in. So I knew he was dead already before Nick had to tell me. And then it, again, is like Nick, it's very hazy. I'm almost like, I don't know if you had this experience, but like, you're not even looking at your eyes. You're like above yourself, watching yourself.
Out of body, yeah.
Right? But I saw Nick, And it's funny, I remember he was sitting and I was on the ground. He says that we were both on the ground, but I remember him sitting, and I just, again, his body language, like, he was just destroyed. It was just destroyed. And I don't know, the first thing that I needed to say to him was, it's not your fault. And then that's what I said. And yeah, I don't know if I just knew that that was the right thing to say. Whether or not I believed it, I think I did believe it because I said it, but like, it doesn't even matter if I believed it because that's what he needed to hear. Like what, I guess, like looking back, like what good would it have done to be mad at him? Like we were going through this together.
Yeah.
It was something we were going to have to navigate to get, like, if I didn't have him to lean on, like who? If I get mad at him, like then I'm alone.
Yeah.
In navigating it.
And I think that's one of the frustrating things with life and why it's so unfair is there's no one to pin it on. It's just chaos. It's just it's hard on everyone.
And but yet you still take that guilt and that shame, and you can't, like, I was ashamed.
Like,
for
it's no one's
years.
fault, so it's my fault.
Right. I brought our family skiing. Like we did as parents, and like our job is to protect them, to keep them alive. You know, like everybody kind of says it, you know, in jest, like, oh, I kept the kids alive until their first birthday. Oh, they graduated high school. I kept them alive. You know. So like when you don't keep them alive, when they die on your watch, it's like I'm so ashamed of that. Took me a few years to feel a lot less shame. I still feel a little, but it's much, much better. But like I've met lots of parents, especially bereaved moms, and one in particular, she was driving her kids home from an event in Boston, and it was a long drive back home, and she fell asleep at the wheel. One of them died. I don't think it's her fault. She had a terrible accident, right?
Yeah.
I look at her and like, no way is that your fault. And yet she believes that it's her fault, right? Sometimes you just can't rationalize your way out of how you're going to feel about it. Even when all these people around you are saying,
and you can have sympathy for all of them.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to your story, like, no.
Exactly. Like I can look at her and be like, it's not your fault. But me, my son, oh, that was my fault.
And it doesn't.
I know.
That's what makes it tough, is it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to add up for it to hurt and for you to feel bad.
Yeah.
Everyone handles, sorry, you're going to say something?
No, no.
Everyone handles grief differently. How would you explain your grief journey? And then what are the differences maybe from Nick, your husband?
Yeah. So I have been, throughout this whole grief process, very outward in my grief.
What is that, like talking about him?
I talk about him. I love a good group.
Yeah. Okay, wow.
I'm a grief group kind of gal. I still go to our support group that we've been going to now for 6 years. Nick came with us for about 1, and then he was like, I'm done with the group. Like, I can't sit around and talk about this anymore with others.
Yeah.
And like, I thought that was great. Like, it didn't work for him, and it was time for him to be done. It really works for me. I like to sit with, especially other women, other moms, and talk about our grief. I like to share. And Nick and I, he has this great phrase, like, I talk to think, whereas he thinks to talk. So I'm just like, I'm out there talking my way through how I'm feeling about something.
Yeah.
Whereas he doesn't talk until he's already thought it through, and then he brings it out.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous of that. I wish I had more of that.
But I'm also very like outwardly emotive. I cry a lot, and I cry with people, in front of people, in public, and I'm okay with that, especially in bereavement. Where Nick, you know, he doesn't wear his heart on his sleeve. It's much more internal, and you'd think sometimes maybe like he wasn't grieving, but he is in deep grief. He just carries it differently. He shows it differently. And that was something that we both had to learn early on, I think. and that helped us navigate our marriage through the last 6 years was respecting each other's ways of grieving, and allowing space for both of them. Like, we don't have to do it the same way. It doesn't mean we cared any less or more for our son, or more or less for our family. It's just we have different styles, and that works for us. So we had to like educate ourselves
Yeah.
on
That stuff can be so frustrating, because when it's about your kid dying and you guys are frustrated with each other with these emotions of having a lost child is very difficult to navigate. And
Yeah.
it's
but
easy to hurt each other.
absolutely, and we
Yeah.
absolutely have, and we more so have found that mutual respect for one another and given each other space
Yeah.
for it.
The couple we just had on before you, well, it was just Kristen.
Great job.
And yeah, she was talking about how it was so different between her and her husband, like the way they were grieving and how difficult that was, and then coming to realization that people grieve differently. What are some the common phrases we've been saying it. Everyone grieves differently. In my experience, I think that got me in a lot of trouble. And I had such a big support group that made it very easy for me to make sure Blue was taken care of.
Yeah.
Which allowed me to just drink.
Did you say drink?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
drink. And it wasn't good.
Yeah.
But I'm under this umbrella of people, everyone grieves differently, and I don't, like,
Maybe this
I
is
mean,
the one way.
that's what I would do.
Yeah,
I would want to die. I would
Right.
probably drink. And so there's no, like, I don't know. I think,
You didn't have any guardrails?
yeah, and it's a tough conversation to have, because I am a believer that people grieve differently. Like, that's true. I'm not arguing that. But what I'm trying to say is, there's bad parts of grieving.
Yeah.
There's
absolutely.
behavior in your grief that, like, hey, you need to not do that anymore.
Right. Yeah, I think
For me, drinking is a big one. And look, I still drink. Like, I'll have a drink tonight at the Red Sox game.
Yeah.
Like, I have a good relationship with it now.
But you figured it out.
I'm just trying to ask you, like, from your perspective, what are some things you would tell people this didn't work for me in my initial grief journey that I wish I did differently?
Well, like, drugs and alcohol didn't work for me.
You did drugs and alcohol? You were cheering? No.
Yeah. Some pills, not abusive, but in the beginning, like, and
Yeah,
like
like,
anything goes in the beginning.
Yeah, I'm with
like,
you. I'm with you.
Get through the
Like,
first couple of weeks,
yeah,
like any way you
can
can.
get drunk in the beginning.
Absolutely. Yes.
I actually remember, real quick, and I'll let you talk, but I remember my family and friends sat me down for the first time, like, hey, like, the drink, like, you're drinking and this and that, and just, trying to have this heart-to-heart with me. And I just remember there's this disconnect. Like, in my brain, I'm like, I'm crushing it. I'm still alive.
Right, yeah.
I went outside today.
Yeah, you're doing a couple of things that are...
And it's so, like, I had a lot of anger. Like, they're like, and I'm just like, fuck you guys. Like, I am doing so good over here. So yeah, I'm with you. Like, in the beginning, like, it's it's
like,
survival mode.
Exactly. Whatever you need to do to make sure you, like, for us, it was like, we have to wake up for Kai. You had to wake up for Blue.
That was,
right?
Yeah.
And we talk about, like, well, if we didn't have Kai, not sure what paths we would have taken, right? But we did have Kai. And so, and again, like you, we had those supports in place, a lot of family, a lot of friends helping us with Kai in those initial weeks. And they still help today, but they were really present.
Yeah, very hands-on.
Yes, taking Kai whenever we needed them to. But after a while, like, I found with, like, drinking, with, trying to numb it away, it made me feel worse, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't get through the days without feeling like shit.
I didn't even know what day it was. Like, is it Monday or Friday? I don't know.
I wasn't able to connect at all with William. I wasn't feeling any of my feelings. I don't know. I guess it was because we did seek out real support, professional support very early on. we had this amazing therapist that we would go to as a family, and she sort of helped guide us very gently, but she just knew what to say and how to get us to talk about our grief. And then the grief group. The grief group was huge for me because when William died, I thought the rest of us were doomed. That Nick and I were going to get divorced, that Kai was going to become a heroin addict, that all of our lives were over.
Yeah, I had that. Is that just fear,
I don't know.
anxiety of after, like,
Right.
because part of you, like your nervous system is just, or at least mine was just totally screwed up.
Yeah.
I had that too.
I thought
like,
everything was
I had to go
was
check
going to
on
go to
Blue
shit.
in the middle of the night. Like, is he breathing? Is he alive? Like,
Initially, I thought Kai would die too. But like longer term, like 6 months, a year in, I was like, he's just going to be fucked up. He's never going to get over the fact that his brother died.
yeah.
But we went to this grief group, and there were other families there who had been there for a few years. And I remember this one particular family, like it was their last year there because their daughter was graduating high school. And I was like, oh my God, she can graduate high school even though her brother died 6 years ago? Like I didn't know that was a route.
Life can go on.
Right.
Like,
And
yeah.
I saw this model and everybody in the group would go around and light a candle and say their kid's name. And when I did it, I was bawling. And the other families who had been there longer, like they lit it and they held a moment for it, but like they kept moving, right? And I was like, oh, there's hope somewhere. Anyone outside of grief can tell you things are going to get better, but you don't believe them.
Yeah.
But these people had been where I was.
You'll listen to them.
And they were modeling what it could look like if you did the work.
No, that's the reason why I love the podcast is you hear these people's stories and they keep going and
They keep going.
and it's like, wow, like, okay, like
I would take walks every morning for about 6 months. Nick took 6 months off of work. We were very, very privileged for him to be able to do that. And so we didn't have a lot to do. Kai would go to school and then it was just kind of the two of us.
Yeah.
But I would take a walk every morning and I would listen to Nora McInerney's podcast, Terrible Thanks for Asking.
I don't. Funny enough, I don't listen to podcasts.
Yeah, no,
so I don't know
you weren't
what's
around yet. Okay, this was 2019. But her husband, a young husband, died of a brain tumor. And so she started a podcast and she would interview all sorts of people going through grief. And I would listen to them. At the time, I thought it was great because I would reframe my grief. Well, I'm not as bad as that person. Or like, I don't have it as bad. She lost 2 kids and he lost, like his mother, his grandmother, and his, like, so I'd be like, I got it pretty good. And I realized that I was protecting myself from realizing that my grief was pretty serious too.
Man, I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was relying on other people's stories to sort of like numb myself. And so I eventually stopped doing that and was like, no, I have a pretty big loss too. Like right.
Yeah.
But it was at least helpful to know that there were other people out there who were walking the grief path.
It's the community you don't want to be a part of, but
Right.
so grateful that you have, and it's a beautiful community.
It is.
Yeah. But like
everybody's so friendly and helpful and supportive.
Yeah.
And I went to this. So I've kind of delved into like grief work and grief awareness myself, and I went to this conference in LA last year called End Well. It was kind of like a one-day mini TED Talk series of all these people, hospice workers, chaplains, therapists, bereaved families, bereaved parents getting up and sort of telling their stories about end of life and death. And it was hysterical also. It was super sad and then we were all having a great time. So it can be kind of both, right? Or it has to be both.
Yeah, the pain and the joy definitely coexist now. For sure. Yeah, I think losing a child, that pain's always going to be there and taint every moment a little bit, but like you can still be happy though.
Yeah, and it's hard because I think ahead to like when Kai who's now 12, almost 13, when he like graduates from high school or when he gets married,
Yeah.
like William's not going to be there,
Yeah.
right? And I hate that. I hate that for him. I hate it for me. I hate that William doesn't get to have those two big milestones. So it's always going to be there. And I struggle with like, how am I going to show up enough for Kai, even though I'm so sad about William? Like, because
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin Kai's wedding day by crying about William.
Yeah.
That's not fair to Kai. So yeah, I don't know yet how I'm going to do that.
And it's also, the loss does make you appreciate those moments more.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
wow,
yeah.
like, wow, like, yeah, like you get to appreciate life more after the loss. But yeah, it also hurts.
It
so
sucks
bad.
that William's not going to do all of these
Yeah.
things that we thought, you
That
know?
you should be doing.
Yeah.
Why is it so important to talk about it?
Oh, grief or William? Or
Grief.
Grief.
Maybe both. But
Um,
like, why is it so helpful, you think?
because it's something that everybody goes through, you know? And I feel like it's a taboo. People just aren't comfortable talking about it. Because it is so hard, especially child loss, child death.
And I think it's scary because once they start, they're going to lose control. Like, they don't know how, at least that was me. Like, I might start punching a wall. I might start crying. I don't know how I'm even going to react if I say it out loud around you guys, honestly. So I think that's part of it too. But keep going. Sorry.
Well, like it's so many people use the word like, oh my gosh, it's so unimaginable. And like I hate when people say that because, well, like I have to imagine, I don't have to imagine. I live it every day.
There's no words.
Right.
Like, we need to talk about
are
it.
words, and let me tell you what they
Yeah,
are.
like, let's try to find the words. Like,
oh, that's Colin's book.
Yeah.
Finding the Words.
my favorite book. I love the title. Like,
Yeah.
and he finds the words better than most people.
Yeah, he
'cause
does.
he's just
He does.
so smart and talented. But like,
Yeah.
that's the goal in therapy or whatever. Is it? You might not explain you're probably not going to explain the emotion of losing a child ever correctly the way you want it to.
No.
But you need to try.
Let's
need
try
to
it.
Talk about.
Let's try it.
The feelings.
Like if people could just imagine it for a second, then they would know how to be more empathetic, how to respond better, how to take grief support more seriously. Know that it's an ongoing journey and it doesn't end after 5 years, and that I'm never going to be better. You know, like so talking about it is education for me. And then with talking about William specifically, it's like that's how he keeps living. I will never stop talking to people about him. Just like I'll never stop talking about my living children.
Yeah.
And sharing what they're doing. Like I'll always.
But
talk
if
about
someone
William.
asks you how many kids you have,
I say 3 nearly all the time because I do.
Yeah,
I have
that's what
3,
I'd say, yeah.
right? You have 3 kids. 2 of them happen to be dead, right?
That's what I tell them.
One of them is
we deal with it at the baseball game or wherever we're at.
and what I hate when I do that is then the look on people's faces. Then I have to apologize or try to comfort them. Like, no, but I'm the one whose kid is dead.
Yeah.
Like, I shouldn't comfort you just because that makes you uncomfortable. Like, you should be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, what can I do for you? You're the one who's had this trauma.
Yeah.
But I find myself, oh no, it's okay. Like life is still good. Like we still have joy. Like I try to explain it away.
Yeah.
And I don't like to do that.
Yeah, it's not your burden.
No. And yet
it's the culture we kind of created with death and grief. Like,
it's so uncomfortable. Speaking about culture, we had this amazing thing happen very early on after William died. So we got home from Montana the day after he died because we didn't know what else to do.
We didn't talk about that enough, like getting the body home and getting like that is.
Oh, it was well. Luckily, I called
communicating with the family about what's happening.
It was
making those.
It was awful. And I made a lot of them because Nick, again, he was still thinking that he could have saved Willie. Like he was crushed. I had to do a lot of that thing, and that was my role, and I just honed in on it. But yeah, I mean, I called it was actually quite easy. I just called the funeral home where we live here outside of Boston in Concord. And it was like midnight and they picked up. I couldn't believe it. They picked up and they just said, tell me where he is and we'll take it from there. And they did. They did the whole thing. They got him back to, we didn't have to think about it, which was wonderful. So we get home from from Montana the next day. And one of the first calls that I made was actually to our superintendent of our school system. He was kind of a friend of mine. I was on some like committees at school, and it's a really small school, so everybody knows everybody. And I knew that he was a bereaved dad. He had lost one of his children a few years earlier. So I sort of like, that was me letting the town know. And then they showed up at our house the day after we got back, the superintendent and the principal. And, you know, they were setting up those trauma stations at the school so all the families could come and find out about what had happened. And
Wow.
which was great.
Yeah.
Again, we're a really small community affected.
Really cool thing to do, though. Yeah.
Yeah, William was like the first kid in like 35 years who had died in our town.
Wow.
So it was like it was a big impact. But anyways, Kai's best friend at the time was this little boy named Aku. They were in first grade. And Aku's family heard about what had happened to William. I didn't call them because we weren't close with the parents, but the kids were best friends. And so Aku's family went to the school to sort of go through the trauma process and getting information about it. And right after they went to that, they came immediately to our house. They didn't call. They showed up at our doorstep and they said to us, "We're so sorry about what happened. We thought you might like our son." And like other people like weren't stopping by who knew us really well because they were afraid to like impose or, you know, or disturb us.
Or like remind you that you
Remind us.
Like, okay.
And like whose family came at the exact time as like my brother and his family were just about to leave they had been with us for a few days and then they were going back home for a few days before the funeral. And so my nephews, Kai's cousins, were leaving. So Kai was going to be alone. And there's Aku and his parents who just show up and we're like, and they didn't stay, they just dropped him off. And they were just like, "We thought you might need him." And we're like, we definitely need him right now. And it was this beautiful gesture from a different culture.
Yeah.
They're Indian and they didn't, you know, follow the norms of American society of like, oh, you don't want to get too close. We don't want to offend anybody. We don't know what to say. They just showed up and they dropped him off and they came back a few hours later, you know?
And the timing, beautiful timing. Like,
I know. And so like, that's how to do it. Just like, what do you think somebody in grief might need? Well, let's do that.
I don't know who told us, Ryan, but someone said instead of just bringing someone food over, you should bring food over and then offer like, "Can we eat with you?" And I love that idea.
Yeah. We had
and let them say no or yeah or whatever, but like,
do you want to share this?
like,
yeah.
I really like that idea.
Do you want some company?
Sure, yeah.
We had friends come over and cooked us dinner at our house.
It's so great. Yeah.
It was.
Just show up. Just show up.
Show up.
That's the biggest thing.
Be there. Sit. Witness. Be present.
I want to ask about Kai.
Yeah.
Because he was, how old was he when
6.
Yeah.
Little.
What's his grief journey been like? I mean, obviously it's much different, and kids are just crazy resilient. It seems.
Yeah. But we've done a lot of work with him and for him. And just.
I love that you keep a picture of William in it. Like that's so.
Well, that's Bodie. But no, Kai has pictures of William in his room too.
I mean.
Bodie had
some families take the pictures down.
No way.
Oh.
I mean, Kai and William were best friends.
Yeah,
they were best friends, and they did everything together because they had to. You know, the brothers.
And he's an only child for a little bit.
He was an only child for what, about a year and a half. We actually made him an album of pictures from the time that William died because we traveled a lot. We took a lot of trips to like sort of get out of our own space. And so we made him a picture. I think we called it the Year of Kai.
I love it. Yeah.
Because we knew we were pregnant with Bodie. And so, but just recently, people, like all of his teachers currently tell me that Kai is just she's an amazing kid. He's a kind kid. He he just knows how to show up for his friends. He's funny. He's smart. Like, he's doing
Probably
great.
just has a level of sympathy and emotional intelligence that a lot of
Does.
kids
He
would
has
have.
emotional intelligence
Yeah.
that kids his age don't
I
usually
noticed
have.
that with Blue. Like he's very emotional. He's a little shrimp, tiny kid out there, but like he's very emotionally intelligent.
Yeah. Kai's not emotional. Like he's probably only cried like 3 times about William's death.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't outwardly show his emotion like his dad.
Yeah, I kind of feel that's a lot for a little kid, honestly. Like that's
Yeah.
a good amount. I
But we've just always been really honest, appropriately
Right.
honest
Yeah.
with Kai about what happened.
And how it feels and
Yeah, and like even with Bodie, I'll be crying and he's like, "Mama, why are you sad?" I'm like, I'm really missing William right now. I'm like having a hard time.
great communication. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, I miss William too."
Yeah, it's so good. Instead
know?
of keeping it a mystery, like, oh, I'm fine, or
No,
like, this is why I'm sad.
like I never did that like giant sobbing, like scary
Yeah.
outburst of grief with either one of them, because it is a little scary. But like always, if I was crying or sad, like I'm really, I wish William was here. Like I tell them how I'm feeling, and they then get to tell me how they're feeling back.
Yeah.
Right?
Two-way street.
And again, we have William. He lives in our house with us. We celebrate him. We light candles for him on special occasions. So
Love that, yeah.
Kai knows that William is part of our family. We're never going to forget him. And yeah, Kai got a lot of therapy. He goes to this grief group. It's the only
For
place.
kids?
Yeah.
That's so great.
Bodie goes now.
That's so
Bodie
great.
at 4 years old is sitting with a couple other, 3 and 4 year olds. They just play,
so
but
good.
they like sprinkle in things about grief and how to feel your feelings.
Oh man, so cool.
But one of the first things that Kai did when we went to grief group, because like the kids go downstairs, I don't even know what they do. They do their stuff. The parents are upstairs. But Kai came home with a memory box. He painted it and wrote on it, and then he got to fill it with some of his favorite things that either belonged to William or reminded him of William, and that still sits on his shelf today. And the grief group is great because everybody else in that circle has also lost a sibling.
Yeah.
Whereas nobody at school has, nobody on his sports teams, none of his friends.
Just think of their interactions, like when they're playing blocks or house, or like the communication,
Yeah.
mom and dad, and like
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
simple, but so powerful.
Programs like those are, I think, so important.
And I just love hearing, because Blue's 7, and so I just love hearing how other parents are teaching their children how to deal with this grief.
Yeah, yeah.
Before we get to your top 3 favorite movies,
Puppy.
anything else you want to have said, or
I'm gonna make a plug
yeah, go
for
it.
our so Nick wrote a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, that's not the plug though.
Oh.
My teacher, my son. I started a nonprofit, right?
Yeah, the greenhouse.
Well, the greenhouse is part of the nonprofit,
Okay,
and it's yeah, the because it started with the parkour challenge, right?
Yeah.
It's community events, which has been amazing for our community. But I really wanted to help a larger portion of grieving families. So right now we're trying to raise money so that we can buy a single family home on Cape Cod, which is like a vacation place
so
by the
cool,
ocean.
yeah.
And we want to be able to provide 52 families a year with free week-long trips to the Cape. Because we, as I said before, we got to travel a lot when things got too much at home. We got to have these opportunities to like reset as a family of 3, create some new memories. And I know that helped us in getting to where we are today.
Yeah.
And so I really want to be able to do that for other families.
When we post the episode, we'll put the link or any info you have.
Yeah.
Or we can say it right now. Anything you want to tell them in terms of info or
Well,
support?
on our website, that's where you can
Okay.
find links to donate, wbycgiving.org. And you can find out about William there. You can find out about the community events that we do.
Yeah.
and you can also learn more about why we're doing the greenhouse and why it's so important in the
So
grief
cool.
landscape.
I think it's cool to just create an outlet for your grief to have like a positive.
It's sort of
Yeah, it helps you,
it's helping me,
yeah,
and it's creating a legacy for William,
Yeah.
and it's going to help all these families. So
Yeah.
it's like it's everybody wins.
Yeah, I love it so much.
Yeah. No.
Nick, are you good? Anything you want to say sitting over there? Like, I wish I would have said that. You good?
No, I'm good. No, I'm good. I'm good.
All right.
Support the greenhouse.
Okay, top 3
Top 3
favorite
movies.
movies.
Okay.
Wait, hold on, real quick. Did William have any movies that he loved? We could throw.
Oh yeah, well he loves Star Wars.
So he
loved Star Wars. He loved Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
And all the Marvel stuff, like
of course,
all the Marvels.
Yeah.
You know, do I see
Yeah.
Iron Man on your leg?
Yeah, so Ryder drew a picture of Iron Man for Riggins, and this is Ryder's handwriting.
Yeah. Oh,
So
wow.
So I took his Iron Man, and my artist kind of,
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
and kept the handwriting. But yeah,
that's beautiful.
Avengers.
Yep. All the just
What was his favorite superhero?
what?
What was William's favorite superhero, you think?
Thor.
Thor.
Thor. Yeah.
That's a good one. God of Thunder. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
He was Thor for his last Halloween.
Cape and hammer.
And then I wore the helmet and
Wonder Woman.
no.
Oh.
Like the first Halloween William missed, I was Thor.
Oh, you were Thor.
I was Thor. Yeah.
You're like, it was terrible and great at the same.
I felt powerful though.
Okay, top
my
3.
movies. So, Mannequin.
With Robin. No,
No, Kim Cattrall.
I'm messing that up.
And Andrew.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
God,
Mannequin.
yeah, no, these aren't gonna fly with you guys. And then Some Kind of Wonderful.
Strike
with,
2.
With Amanda. Well, no, her name in the movie was Miss Amanda Jones. So yeah, Some Kind of Wonderful, beautiful love story. And Mannequin, Mannequin was all about how this mannequin came to life, and like they got to her and then her boyfriend got to like hang out in the department stores at night. Like, how much fun would that be?
Yeah, I could do that.
And
Number 1.
so yeah, those are my 2, and then the third, I don't really know, because those are like just so important to me.
Those are easily your top 2.
Yes.
And now we're struggling with the third. You could do a TV show if you want.
Oh well, then Schitt's Creek.
Oh, you didn't even hesitate, David.
Yes.
Courtney loves Schitt's Creek.
It's fantastic. It's hysterical.
Yeah, it's a great one.
I think it's the best show that ever came onto television.
Yeah, I won't argue with you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thank you.
William, go say hi to Riggins and Frankie and Ryder and Courtney and Race. And thanks again. And life's 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it.
Absolutely.